Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1916 Cleveland Indians Ohio League football season. The 1916 Cleveland Indians were in the Ohio League were a football team. This was the first professional football team in Cleveland. And they played at League Park, which was home of the baseball Cleveland Indians at that time. The 1916 Cleveland Indians football team finished in third place in the Ohio League, which was a predecessor leading directly to the NFL. Their record was 8-3-1. The first place team in the Ohio League, the Ohio Football League, was the Canton Bulldogs, who won 9 games, lost none, and tied 1. Second place, the Massillon Tigers, were 7-1-2. Third place, the Cleveland Indians, 8-3-1. Fourth place, the Dayton Triangles, who were 9-1. Fifth place, the Toledo Maroons, who were 7-3-1. Sixth place, the Columbus Panhandles, 7-5. Seventh place, the Youngstown Patricians, 7-4. And in eighth and last place, the Cincinnati Celts, 5-4-1. In the 1916 Ohio League Championship game, the Canton Bulldogs defeated the Massillon Tigers 24-0 to win the championship for the year. Now, the Cleveland Indians, their first game was September 24th against the Elyria Andors. They won that game 6-3. The next game was against the Akron Burkharts. They won that 3-0. Third game against the Detroit Carlisle Indians, another win, 39-7. Next game was October 15th against the Pitcairn Quakers. Cleveland won 14-6. And then October 22nd against the Columbus Panhandles. Cleveland lost 9-6. Next game against the Akron Burkharts. Cleveland won 13-0. And then November 5th, they lost against the Canton Bulldogs, 27-0. And then they lost another game against the Canton Bulldogs, home and away, 14-7. November 19th, there was a tie against the Massillon Tigers, no score. November 26th, a win against the Columbus Panhandle, 7-0. November 30th, against the Detroit Heralds, a win, 20-6. The last game was against the Toledo Maroons. Cleveland won that game 3-0. Home games attendance for the Cleveland Indians football team was between 2,000 and 10,000 fans. Now, the history of professional football, American football, evolved in the United States. It originated from soccer and rugby. The first American football game was in 1869. 2 college teams, Rutgers and Princeton. The Ohio League, which we're talking about here, was between 1902 to 1919, a direct predecessor of the NFL. Now, in the Ohio League, you had the championship teams. 1902, the Akron Ends. From 1903 to 1907, the Massillon Tigers. 1908 to 1909, the Akron Indians. 1910 and 1911, the Shelby, Ohio Blues. 1912, the Elyria Athletics. 1913 and 14, the Akron Indians. 1915, the Youngstown Patricians. 1916 and 17, the Canton Bulldogs. 1918, the Dayton Triangles, and in 1919, the Canton Bulldogs. Other teams that played in the Ohio League included the Cleveland Panthers, Columbus Panhandles, Ironton Tanks, Portsmouth Spartans, Toledo Maroons. American football teams, or amateur football teams, became popular in Pennsylvania in the 1890s. Now, as football was evolving, the passing was legalized in 1906. The Columbus Panhandles were organized by Joe Carr, the first NFL commissioner from 1921 to 1939. In 1915, Jim Thorpe played for the Canton Bulldogs, and he helped really make pro football more popular because he was a famous Olympic athlete and Major League Baseball player. And Thorpe was paid $250 a game. He was professional football's first star. And the Canton Bulldogs' attendance increased with Thorpe from 1,200 fans to 8,000 with Jim Thorpe. And the Canton, Ohio and Massillon, Ohio games were the stuff of legend. Jim Thorpe against Newt Rockne. I read a fine book titled Pro Football, The Early Years, an Encyclopedic History, 1895 to 1959, David S. Neff and Richard M. Cohen, 1978. I'm also reading another fine book, Pigskin, The Early Years of Pro Football by Robert W. Peterson, 1997. College football dominated early football. In the late 1800s, the best teams were Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and the University of Pennsylvania. The early footballs were flatter and blunt on the ends. I'm reading another fine book, The Early History of Professional Football Researchers Association, 2011. According to history, Walter Camp invented American football. In 1876, he enrolled at Yale University and was there from 1880 to 1883. English rugby, as we said, turned into American football. In 1890, the best football teams were college teams in Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and Pennsylvania, or Penn, the Big Four. In 1891, there was amateur football in Pennsylvania and Ohio. Coaches were arguing with referees so players could catch their breath, which was part of every team's strategy. The Pittsburgh area, the athletic clubs had teams. 1892 was football's first pro team, the pro teams. In 1893, the Pittsburgh Athletic Club and Allegheny Athletic Club had strong semi-pro teams. In 1895, the flying wedge was banned, where a large number of guys would form a wedge to protect the ball carrier. A mass of players and one in the middle with the ball. In 1897, referees could shorten halves if there was impending darkness or an imminent departure of a visiting team's train. In the 1890s, the best pro football teams were in southwestern Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, Greensbury, and Latrobe, Pennsylvania. 1902 there was an NFL season, an early pro football. Philadelphia Athletics' Connie Mack was the business manager of the Pittsburgh Star, and then there was the Pittsburgh Stars. There was baseball involvement. Rube Waddell of the A's, Christy Mathewson. Pittsburgh won the championship game that year. A third team was the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Ohio League was a loose association of football teams from 1902 to 1919. Canton and Massillon were very strong teams. 1904, the Ohio teams lured the best Pittsburgh players with high salaries, and this led to the decline of Pennsylvania football. Following Massillon's 1903 example, 1904, Charles Follis and with Shelby was the first professional black football player. 1904, Massillon beat Marion, Ohio, 148-0. In the rules of the time, the team that scored would receive the kickoff. 1905, the most popular team was the Carlisle, Pennsylvania Indian Industrial School team. 1905, there were 18 football deaths, and American President Theodore Roosevelt said, quote, "Brutality and foul play should receive the same summary punishment given a man who cheats at cards." So President Roosevelt said football had to clean up its act or be banned by presidential edict. 1916, John Heisman, for whom the Heisman Trophy was named, was a coach at Georgia Tech and suggested legalizing the forward pass, which was adopted. In 1912, new rules were adopted where the end zone was created 10 yards deep. Newt Rockne, the future Notre Dame most legendary coach, 1913, he was playing college for Notre Dame as a senior, and before the season, in a summer practice, he was catching balls from quarterback Gus Doré at the beach at Cedar Point, and while working on his summer vacation, working as a job as a restaurant, and reportedly that was the first forward pass. November 1st, 1913, Notre Dame against Army, big game. West Point had Gus Doré at quarterback. He went 13 of 17, 243 yards. Notre Dame won that game 35-31, and so the forward pass was popularized. Notre Dame was on the map. Football was becoming more popular. In 1915, Jim Thorpe with the Canton Bulldogs in a game against the Massillon Tigers, Newt Rockne tackled Thorpe for a loss, and Thorpe said, quote, "You shouldn't do that, Sonny. All these people came to see old Jim run." And the next play, Thorpe ran over Newt Rockne for a 40-yard touchdown. Thorpe said, quote, "That's good, Sonny. You let old Jim run." The 1916 Cleveland Indians, the big games were against the Canton Bulldogs at home and away in early November. and they lost both those games. Jim Thorpe had a couple touchdowns in the first game, and the second was at League Park. Again, Cleveland lost, and Thorpe had 2 touchdowns. It was 14-7. 10,000 fans came. And the Cleveland Indians were having, and the owner, Coach Peggy Perry, were having financial problems, and that led to the team discontinuing for a few years. Or they continued semi-pro, didn't do well. Now, the main driver of the 1916 Cleveland Indians football team was Peggy Perry. He was head coach and quarterback. Perry was 170 pounds. He was 33 years old. He went to college at the Case Institute of Technology from 1902 to 1905, and this year he played in 6 games, started 1. Peggy Perry was born in 1883 in Ontario, Canada, died in Cleveland, Ohio in 1959 at age 75. He's buried at Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland. He was a pro football player from 1905 to 1916 with the Shelby Blues, Lorraine Pros, Massillon Tigers, Franklin, Ohio Athletic Club, Parrots Indians, the Cleveland Tigers. He won 4 Ohio League titles in 1906, 1911, 1913, and 1914. He threw the first ever legal forward pass by a pro in a pro football game, playing for the Massillon Tigers in 1906. Eventually, he was appointed to the NFL Rules Committee. He was a 3-time All-Ohio College star. Parrott also was a college basketball and baseball star at Case. In 1905, he won a varsity letter with Case. In 1905, he also coached the college baseball team. In 1909, he was the assistant football coach at Case. Again, the first forward pass was thrown by Parrott on October 25th, 1906, to Dan Bullet Riley. 1906, the Ohio League Championship Series, Massillon Tigers. Parrott's team won the title. He had 2 interceptions. There were rumors that there was a betting fix tainted the championship, and public was turned off by pro football in Ohio for several years. Many of the top players left Ohio when the scandal broke. Parrott was not part of the scandal and stayed in Ohio. 1907, he was with the Massillon All-Stars. He switched to the Franklin Athletic Club in 1907 to make more money. Time with the Franklin Club, he played only a few games. He was major time. He officiated pro football games in the Cleveland area. In 1908, he returned to the Shelby Blues and became an owner of the Shelby Blues, helped organize and financially back the team. As player coach, he helped the team recruit players. In 1908, the Shelby, Ohio Blues tied for first with the Akron Indians and shared the Ohio League title. In 1909, with the Akron Indians, he defeated the Shelby Blues in the title game 13-9 to become champions. 1910 season, Parrott recruited heavily for the contender Shelby. He signed several well-known Ohio college graduates and combining with local veterans. His plan worked as he defeated the Akron Indians twice and won the 1910 Ohio title. 1911 Ohio League title game, the Shelby Blues against the Canton Bulldogs, then referred to as the Canton Professionals. The Blues won the title game by forfeit. There was a heated dispute regarding an offside ruling. Parrott was willing to compromise regarding the call, but the Canton captain, Harry Turner, was upset and called his team off the field and refused to continue the game. And he vowed to quit football. He wanted to beat Parrott badly and played 3 more years. Canton. Before the 1912 season, Parrott left Shelby for Akron. He took the move to realize that he could make more money in the larger football market in Akron. And he changed the name from the Akron Indians to Parrots Indians. He was player, coach, and owner. In the season, he split the series with Shelby, defeated Canton twice, lost the title game against the Elyria Athletics. In 1913, Parrots Indians won the Ohio League title game against the Shelby Blues. 1914, Akron's Parrots Indians signed Notre Dame stars Newt Rockne and Howard Horse Edwards, Deke Jones, and Joe Collins. November 5th, 1914 game Akron against Canton. Canton's Harry Turner died of a broken spine on a tackle from Akron fullback Joe Collins. Turner's death was the first fatal accident in major pro football Ohio. Turner on his deathboard said, quote, "I know I must go, but I'm satisfied, for we beat Peggy Perry." Akron defeated Canton and won the 1914 Ohio League title. 1915, the Massillon Tigers raided Parrott's Akron roster, took away many of his star players. Canton manager Jack Cusack signed other Akron players and Jim Thorpe and renamed the Canton Bulldogs team. 1915, Most of the Akron players were Akron Sandlotters. 1916, Peggy Perry returned to Cleveland with former Akron players and a few ex-collegians to form the Cleveland Tigers, a respectable team. Parrott played his last pro football game on October 22, 1916. In that game, the Cleveland lost 9-6 to Columbus. After he retired, Parrott's name was always brought up trying and talk establishing a National Football League. Parrott was not a part of the 1920 meetings, which set up by Ralph Hay, which was the birth of the NFL. Parrott reappeared on the football scene on August 11, 1925 in Chicago, representing Cleveland Tigers owner Sam Deutsch. On February 2, 1926, Parrott was appointed to 2 NFL committees to redraft the NFL Constitution and bylaws. He met with the Intercollegiate Committee in Athletics in New York City. After retirement, he achieved notability playing auction bridge and contract bridge tournaments. He died in 1959 and is buried in Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, Ohio. Peggy Perry. Now other players for the team, including Jim Barron, who was a guard tackle, played in 4 games. He was born in 1888 in Boston, Massachusetts. Died in 1936 in Boston at age 47. Barron went to college at Georgetown, played pro football from 1916 to 1921 for the Cleveland Indians, Canton Bulldogs, Youngstown Patricians, and Rochester Jefferson. Had 1 year in the NFL. Jim Barron. Howard Beck was an end. He went to college at Washington and Jefferson and is deceased. Played in 5 games, started 4. Al Bergman was a quarterback, born in 1889 in Peru, Indiana. Died in 1961 in Fort Wayne, Indiana at age 71. Bergman was a multi-sport college athlete, played pro football and pro baseball. They called him Big Dutch. He went to college at Notre Dame. He was the head coach of the Washington Redskins, the only athlete in the history of Notre Dame to earn 11 varsity letters. The only athlete to earn 4 letters in 1 year. He played college football, baseball, basketball, and was captain of the track team. 1911, as a kickoff returner for the football team, he set a presently unbeatable record of a 105-yard return against Loyola. At the time, the field was 110 yards long. 3 years later, he became Notre Dame head coach Jesse Harper, and Bergman started at quarterback. The Fighting Irish went 6-2. He played pro baseball for 1 season with the Cleveland Indians in 1916, hit .214 with 3 hits, 14 at-bats, scored 2 runs, 8 games and as a second baseman. Al Bergman played pro football from 1915 to 1917. He also played for Wabash and Cleveland. Al Bergman. Player named Brooks was a tackle. He played in 1 game and is deceased. Player named Burns was a halfback, played in 1 game and is deceased. Roy Burrell was an end quarterback. They called him Tommy. He had a pro football career from 1916 to 1917. 1917, he played for the Akron Pros, did not go to college. Roy Burrell. Bob Butler was a tackle guard and played in 7 games. 1913, he was a college football All-American team, born in 1891 in Alpena, Michigan. He died in 1959 at age 68. He was 5'10", 200 pounds, college at Wisconsin-Madison Badgers. 1915, he was with the Canton Bulldogs, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Bob Butler. Boyd Cherry was an end, played in 6 games. He was born in 1893 in Newark, Ohio. Died in 1970 in Fort Myers, Florida, age 77. 2-time All-American in 1914. He was an All-Big Ten in 1914. He played college football, basketball for the Ohio State University Buckeyes. He was the first OSU player to receive All-American honors, the first to receive first-team All-Conference honors. He graduated from Ohio State in 1915. He was employed by the Kinnear Manufacturing in Columbus, Ohio for 25 years. Boyd Cherry. E.M. Cole was a guard. He went to college at Michigan, played in 4 games. And he also played for the 1915 Massillon Tigers. E.M. Cole. Charlie Criss was an end. He was 26, went to college at Akron, played in 1 game. He was born in 1890 and is deceased, and this was his only year in pro football. Charlie Criss. Homer Davidson was a quarterback kicker. He was 32, played in 4 games. Davidson was born in 1884 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1948 in Detroit, Michigan at age 63. Went to college at University of Pennsylvania. He was a pro football player from 1905 to 1916 for the Shelby Blues, Massillon Tigers, Elyria Athletics, Coleman Athletic Club, the Akron Indians. He also coached the Elyria Athletics. He was a 5-time Ohio League champion 1906, 1910, 1911, 1912, and 1914. Davidson also was a pro MLB player for the Cleveland Naps in 1908, played in 6 games, batted 4 times, and scored 2 runs. He played in the Ohio League, the direct predecessor of the modern NFL. At the College of University for the Penn Quakers baseball team. Davidson began his pro football career in 1905 as quarterback and kicker for the Shelby, Ohio Blues. Davidson was considered the greatest pro football kicker of his era. He won many games for Peggy Perry with his field goals and punts. In 1912, Davidson was a player coach for the Elyria Athletics, and his kick helped the Athletics defeat the Akron Indians 10-0 to win the Ohio League title. For the MLB Cleveland Naps in 1908, he played in 6 games. Homer Davidson. Player named Derby was a halfback, played in 5 games. Paul de Hardian was a center tackle, 6'4", 210 pounds. He was 23 years old, went to college at Chicago, played in 11 games. De Hardian was born in 1893 in Coffeyville, Kansas, and died in 1956 in Monrovia, California at age 62. He went to college at the University of Chicago, Maroons. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He played for the Cleveland Indians baseball team in 1916 as a pitcher, got in 1 game an ERA of 18. They called him Shorty. He was 6'5". He was a college football, baseball, and basketball star. First-team All-American center in 1913-14. He pitched a no-hitter in college. Played pro football from 1916 to 1922. The Cleveland Indians, Hammond Pros Chicago Tigers. For the Minneapolis Marines. College, he played track and field as well and got 12 varsity letters. His greatest fame was playing for Amos Alonzo Stagg's University of Chicago Maroons football team. He was a center on offense and defense and a long punter. For his 3 years there, the team record was 17-3-1. The newspaper Collier's wrote, quote, "De Hardian is not great of bulk, at least not horizontally. He is tall and rangy and remarkably active. His usefulness is accentuated when it seems that some of Coach Stagg's forward pass tricks center around him. He was captain of the 1914 summer in 1915. He traveled in Asia with the University of Chicago baseball team. Spent time in Honolulu, Hawaii, and Japan. In September, in a doubleheader in Tokyo, De Hardian pitched and won both games and hit a home run. In 1916, he was the football coach at Oberlin College. 1916-17, he played pro basketball in Pine Village, Indiana. He was in the U.S. Army in 1918. He was in charge of a prisoner of war camp in Paris, France. 1922 in Ironwood, Michigan. In October, he had punts of 50, 55, and 65 yards. After retiring from football, he worked as a manufacturing executive in Los Angeles, California. And he was a 1913 college football champion. Paul de Hardian. Player named Flynn was an end. He went to college at Pennsylvania, played in 1 game. Player named Frey was a guard, played in 2 games. Player named Goldman was a guard tackle, went to college at Washington and Jefferson, played in 3 games. Tom Gormley was a tackle guard, 5'11", 225 pounds, 25 years old. Gormley went to college at Villanova, Ursinus, and Georgetown. He played in 5 games for Cleveland in 1916. Gormley was born in 1891 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and died in 1951 in Washington, D.C. He served in the U.S. Army, played pro football from 1916 to 1921 for the Youngstown Patricians, Cleveland Indians, Canton Bulldogs, Cleveland Tigers, New York Giants, and Washington Senators, and had 2 years in the NFL. Tom Gormley. Campbell Graff was a halfback fullback, 6 foot flat, 185 pounds, 25 years old. Went to Ohio State, played in 6 games. Born in 1891 in Hamilton, Ohio, and died in 1969 in Upper Arlington, Ohio. And Campbell Graff. Player named Graham was a guard, got in 1 game. Ed Hanley was a fullback, halfback, went to college at Pittsburgh, played in 11 games. Played pro football from 1915 to 1917 with the Massillon Tigers, Cleveland Indians, and Youngstown Patricians. Ed Hanley. A player named Heffron was a fullback and got in 2 games. David Hopkins was an end, went to college at Pennsylvania, played in 2 games. And he graduated from University of Pennsylvania in 1915, played pro football for 1916 and 17 with the Cleveland Indians and Cincinnati Celts. David Hopkins. Player named James was a quarterback, got in 2 games. Player named Kennard was a halfback, got in 1 game. Hollis King was a tackle, 5'11", 175 pounds, 24 years old. He went to college at Notre Dame, played in 4 games. Graduated from Notre Dame in 1915. He was born in 1892 in Broken Arrow, Nebraska. Died in 1965 in Los Angeles, California at age 72. Hollis King. Lobart was an end, went to college at Villanova, got in 1 game. Billy Martin was an end quarterback, 5'8", 170 pounds, 22 years old. College at Georgetown in Washington. Got in 3 games. Billy Martin was born in 1894 in Washington, D.C. and died in 1949 in Arlington, Virginia at age 55. Billy Martin. Eugene Mayer was a halfback, 172 pounds, 24 years old. He went to college at Virginia, graduated in 1915. He was born in 1892 in Norfolk, Virginia, and died in 1918 in Jacksonville, Florida at age 26. He's in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And for the University of Virginia Cavaliers football team from 1912 to 1915. 1915, he was the first player from the Southern School Consensus First Team All-American. 1914, he was one of the leading scorers in the country with 121 points, 19 touchdowns, 5 extra points. 1914-15, he was All-Southern team. On October 9th, 1915, he set a school record with 37 points, 5 touchdowns, 7 extra points, and a 74-0 win against Richmond. At Virginia, he was also track and field. He had a 16-pound shot put. He went 42 feet 3 inches, 100-yard dash. He ran in 10.1 seconds. His career best of 22 feet 9 inches in the broad jump. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He graduated in 1916 with a law degree, practiced law in Charleston, West Virginia. In the First World War, he was a private in the Quartermaster's Corps and Machine Gun Company in the U.S. Army. In October of 1918, he died at age 26. Camp Joseph E. Johnston in Jacksonville, Florida, victim of the 1918 flu epidemic. The Eugene Mayer Co-ed Co-op for working students in Cleveland Heights was set up in Cleveland, Ohio in his honor. And my parents, John Ray and Ruth Ray, met there in 1948. Eugene Mayer. William Neal was a guard. He went to college at the University of Pennsylvania. And Whitman, he played in 3 games. William Neal. Carl Olson was a tackle guard. They called him Bull. He played in 6 games. Played pro football from 1915 to 1970 for the Massillon Tigers, Cleveland Indians, and Akron Pros. Carl Olson. Player named Patton was a guard and got in 1 game. Played for pro football from 1916 to 1917 with the Cleveland Indians and Canton Bulldogs. Milton Portman was a tackle guard. He was 28, went to college at Western Reserve in Cleveland, graduated in 1909, played in 6 games for the 1916 Cleveland Indians. Milton Portman was born in 1888 in Jackson, Minnesota, and died in 1967 in Cleveland, Ohio at age 88. He had military service in the U.S. Army. In 1915, he played for the Massillon Tigers, 1916 with Cleveland. 1908 with Western Reserve, he was Ohio Athletic Conference football champion. Milton Portman. Dutch Powell was a guard. He was 29, went to college at Ohio State. Played in 1 game. He was born in 1887 in Delaware, Ohio. Died in 1940 in Tucson, Arizona at age 53. Dutch Powell. W. Roberts was a guard. He went to college at Colgate. Played in 1 game. Dudge Schreiner was a halfback, 175 pounds, age 24, played in 9 games, born in 1892 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1979 in Rochester, New York at age 87. Dudge Schreiner went to high school in East Cleveland, did not go to college. Dutch Schultz was a center guard, played in 8 games. He played pro football from 1915 to 1919 for the Canton Bulldogs, Cleveland Indians, and Toledo Maroons. Dutch Schultz. Player named Shaw was a tackle, played in 1 game. Murray Shelton was an end. He was 5'11", 175 pounds. He was 23. Shelton went to Cornell, graduated in 1915. He was born in 1893 in Dunkirk, New York, and died in 1985 in Columbia, Missouri at age 92. Played for the Cleveland Indians in 1916, the Buffalo Americans, 1 year in the NFL with Buffalo. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame and the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. Murray Shelton. Lauren Solon was a fullback, 180 pounds, 24 years old, went to college for the Minnesota Gophers. football team, played in 4 games. He was born in 1892 in Superior, Wisconsin. Died in 1967 in Deerfield Beach, Florida at age 75. He had military service in the U.S. Army. Played football also with the 1919 Cleveland Tigers. And it was reported that he was, quote, the surest ground gainer, its best goal kicker, a great defensive player, and the best man on the squad in receiving forward passes. Lawrence Solon was an All-American for 2 years. He was also on the college baseball team. 1916 Richmond, Virginia football team, also in Duluth, Minnesota. The Massillon newspaper regarding Cleveland signing in November of Solon, quote, Peggy Perry has built his team for tomorrow's battle around Lawrence Solon, the Minnesota Star, whom he secured Thursday from Duluth. Solon is the greatest fullback the West has developed in many years, and Peggy is counting on the Gopher luminary to tear the Massillon line to shreds. If Solon accomplishes this feat, he will be the first person to do so this season. Lawrence Solon. John Wagner was an end. He was 195 pounds, age 25, went to college at Pittsburgh. He was born in 1891 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, died in 1979, also in Pittsburgh at age 88. He also played pro football for the Canton Bulldogs. John Wagner. Fred Walker was an end. He went to college at Chicago, played in 1 game. In 1916, he also played for the Youngstown Patricians. Fred Walker. Carl Weiler was a guard. He went to college at the Case Institute of Technology in Cleveland, played in 3 games. Carl Weiler. Stan Wells was an end, 5'10", 160 pounds, age 28, went to college at Michigan, played in 2 games. He was born in 1889 in McCook, Nebraska, and died in 1967 in Cedarville, Michigan at age 88. In 1919, he played for the Akron Indians. Stan Wells. Dwight Wirtz was a halfback quarterback, 5'10", 160 pounds, went to Western Reserve College. He was born in 1888 in Canton, Ohio, died in 1958 in Sarasota, Florida at age 69. He also played for the Massillon Tigers in 1915. And in the minor league, he played pro minor league baseball for the Buffalo Buffheads in 1914. Dwight Wirtz. Sam Williman was an end, age 25, college at Ohio State, played in 2 games. Williman was born in 1890 in Salem, Ohio, and died in 1935 in Cleveland, Ohio at age 45. He also played for the Canton Bulldogs in 1917, the Akron Indians. He was head football coach for Iowa State University from 1922 to 1925, Ohio State University from 1929 to 1933, and Western Reserve University in 1934. He was involved with the Iowa State. When Iowa State integrated team play, he played Jack Trice as a college player, end halfback, fullback. He college letters in 1911. 1913, he was All-Ohio. 1921, he was selected as Ohio State all-time team, second team halfback behind Chick Harley and Pete Stinchcomb. He was a high school coach in Cleveland at East Tech. He played in 1919 as an alias of Sam Williams. He played playing football for his money was frowned upon by academic circles. 1917 with the Canton Bulldogs, he played with Jim Thorpe. 1917, he won an Ohio League title. He died of emergency surgery. Cased 1934 with Western Reserve, won a Big Four Conference championship as a coach. Sam Williman. Guy Williamson was a quarterback halfback. He was 26, went to college at Pittsburgh. He was born in 1890 in Pendleton, Indiana, died in 1930 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at age 40. They called him Chalky. He was the head football coach at Grove City College, Wolverines, Grove City, Pennsylvania. He was a starting quarterback for the 1915 Pittsburgh Panthers, who were national champions in college football. Guy Williamson. Frank Yocum was a halfback. He was 23, went to Oberlin College. He was born in 1893 in LaGrange, Ohio, and died in 1970 in Shaker Heights, Ohio, at age 66. He had military service in the U.S. Army. He coached the Western Reserve football team from 1917 to 1918 while attending dental school. He's in the Case Western Reserve Sports Hall of Fame. He also ran track at Oberlin. He coached the football, cross-country, track, and baseball. Frank Yocum. Fred Zeman was an end center guard. He was 25, went to college at Cornell. He was born in 1891 in Cleveland, Ohio, died in 1969 in Cleveland at age 77. He played for the Massillon Tigers in 1919. Red Zeman. Now, late in November, Canton and Massillon had two games to decide the championship for 1916. The first game was in Massillon on November 27th. 10,000 fan games. It was a scoreless tie. The second game was at Canton's League Park. 10,000 fans came, and Canton won the game 24-0 to win the championship. In the first quarter, center Ralph Fat Williamson scooped up a fumbled punt return and ran 15 yards for a score. Pete Calick had a touchdown. Ernie Susi had a TD catch from quarterback Milton G. Jim Thorpe had a 3-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. Robert Nash was a tackle for Rutgers and Massillon and said regarding the Canton Bulldogs line, quote, "It was the most powerful line I ever played against. We couldn't stand against it, for the charge of the Canton line simply carried us out of the way. If we resisted, we were lifted bodily out of the path of the man with the ball. Out of the path of the man with the ball, shoved aside like a bag of flour." The Canton Even Repository reported, quote, "After a decade and a half and oft-time costly effort, Canton at last can boast the professional football championship of the country, which also means the world and Massillon. The Bulldogs of 1916, assembled and whipped into shape by the great Jim Thorpe, battled their way to the crown Sunday afternoon at League Park, crushing the Massillon Tigers 24-0 in a struggle that bubbled over with Canton's superiority. It was the first real triumph of the red and white over the orange and black in all the years of striving. And it was worth waiting for, this complete annihilation of the Tiger hopes." The Canton Daily News reported, quote, "Jim Thorpe bumped tacklers and then advanced. Thorpe sidestepped adversaries and left disaster in his wake. Jim Thorpe, by sheer strength, shook off rivals like the wind blows leaves to the ground. When yards were needed, yards were obtained." So that's the story of the 1916 Cleveland Indians football team, the first pro football team in Cleveland. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.